South Africa, the cradle of humankind, and a brand new democracy. A land of extraordinary contrasts and breathtaking diversity of life. Home to 47 million people, speaking 11 different languages, living in some of the most dynamic and vibrant cities on earth. A nation of ancient custom and magnificent ritual. A modern republic, Africa's superpower. This is the story of the birth of a nation. How has the world's most divided state embraced democracy? Can past enemies learn to live together? And what is the hope for the future? This is the story of a country's remarkable transformation and of the people living through it. This is the story of life in the Rainbow Nation. For 300 years, South Africa was a nation at war with itself. Racist laws governed every aspect of people's lives. These laws became the apartheid regime, and they made black and colored people second-class citizens. Finally, in 1994, a peaceful revolution ended white rule, and a new nation was born. Yet this remarkable revolution was just a beginning. Now all 47 million South Africans have the chance to forge their own path in a land of remarkable wealth and opportunity. 47 million personal revolutions. On the outskirts of Johannesburg, the night shift starts in the deepest gold mine in the world, where shift boss Peter Mputle must move 150 tons of rock before dawn. His bonus and the house he's long dreamt of owning depend on his success. In the remote interior, vet Yana Pretorius is on the hunt for one of Africa's greatest beasts, as she fights to preserve the nation's precious wildlife. At this same moment, at the home of South Africa's elite armored brigade, Lieutenant Monique Thorne is in training for the most important test of her life. She has to lead her men into the country's biggest military exercise. 450 miles away in the Kalahari Desert, Komani San Bushmen walk the lands of their forefathers, fighting to preserve a way of life that is 20,000 years old. While in downtown Johannesburg, paramedic Tony Wolf comes on duty in one of the most dangerous cities on earth. And in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, in a small rural village, it's the start of the school day. This is Tobile Sobisi. She's 14 years old. This is her walk to school. It is 3 miles each way. But for Tobile, this is the beginning of a longer journey. She is part of the first generation of black South African children born with something their parents never had, their freedom. This year, she will face the greatest challenge of her young life: to pass her graduation exams and grasp the opportunity of a better life.
My parents didn't get an education, so sometimes I look at them and I think it is good that I work hard at school so that when I grow up, I can get a good job and make them happy.
The new South African nation has a new national anthem, God Bless Africa, the call of South Africa. Sung at the beginning of each school day, written in 5 different languages, it is a testament to the unified nation. The founding father of this new nation was Nelson Mandela, a black lawyer who fought against the injustices of the racist laws and led South Africa to freedom. Today is his birthday.
This is Nelson Mandela, who is 88 years today. In April 27, 1994, he was elected as the first black president. He was in jail in 1963 and he was released in 1990. Who can try? How many years does he serve in jail? How many years? Please. 27 years. Only February 11.
Inzuzo Gumede is Tobile's class teacher. He wants his class to value their freedom, but more importantly, to make sure they seize their opportunities.
I wish after 10 years to see one of them as a lawyer or as the next president. My future president is in my school and in my classroom.
Tobile has just as much ambition as Inzuzo. She is determined to be the first person in her family to go to high school and college.
When I finish school, I want to become a teacher. I see myself doing very well, better than I am now. When nobody can tell me I'm nothing compared to them, I know that I am equal to anyone.
This new spirit of equality has empowered South Africans. There are few textbooks, but Inzuzo makes his own from newspapers. 1963. The school has no electricity or running water, yet the kids have managed to build their own kitchen. The school manages to feed 300 children each day. For many, this is their only hot meal. In the past, black children were deliberately given an inferior education. Now, they are the hope of a new South Africa. The school provides not only skills for the children's future, it also teaches them about their past. Tobile, like a fifth of South Africa's population, is Zulu. The school has invited a Zulu matriarch to teach the girls about their traditions and history through song and dance.
Abathanda amasiko kwaZulu anganizwa bangakabathandayo niyathanda amasiko kwaZulu.
Not only does Tobile have important exams this year, she will also be taking part in a traditional ritual that will mark her coming of age. She will travel to the homestead of the Zulu king, joining 15,000 young women at the Zulu reed dance, an ancient ceremony to celebrate their Zulu identity. Years ago, the Zulu kingdom was one of the largest and most powerful in southern Africa. They were a warrior people, famous for their courage and strength. But they are just one of many different peoples who have fought to make South Africa their home. South Africa lies at the southern tip of the African continent, a land of fertile soils and temperate climate that has attracted settlers for millennia. 2,000 years ago, the ancestors of today's Zulu people migrated into southern Africa, searching for new land for their cattle and crops. As they expanded across southern Africa, they diversified into distinct African cultures, including the Zulu, Soto, Swana, and Xhosa. Nearly 400 years ago came the Europeans, Dutch, German, and French settlers, also seeking a new life. On the coast, they found rich and fertile land. Determined to make this country their own, they too built settlements, plowed fields, grew crops, and trained vineyards. They forged their own African identity and their own language as the Afrikaner people. But before the arrival of the European settlers, even before the arrival of the black settlers, this land was already occupied. These are the descendants of the first humans ever to walk this land. Isaac Craper is a Komani San bushman. For 20,000 years, Isaac's forefathers have roamed southern Africa, living in harmony with the natural rhythms of the earth. But the Komani San were forced from their land by waves of settlement and persecution. Their last refuge has become the far north of South Africa, the Kalahari Desert, a vast, dry expanse of exceptional beauty, one of the last great wildernesses on earth. Now, in the new South Africa, Isaac and the Komani San have been given permanent ownership of a portion of the Kalahari. For Isaac, this land is everything. It holds the key to keeping his people and their traditions alive.
This land means a better life for me and my family. When my children grow up, I want them to understand their past and have a bright future.
The most important of the Bushman's traditions is the hunt. But before a hunt can begin, a sacred ritual must be performed. This trance dance could be the most ancient religious ceremony on earth. For a people so in tune with their natural environment, the hunting and killing of an animal is not to be taken lightly. Isaac must first communicate with the spirits of the natural world. After hours of dancing, the bushmen slip into a trance, a gateway to the mystical forces that shape their world.
The spirit gives us the power and the knowledge of what animal we are going to hunt. We have a vision and draw strength from the dance for the hunt ahead.
During the trance dance, Isaac has a vision, the animal that the spirits have given him permission to hunt. In the morning, Isaac, Hans, Bux, and Abillon set off to find the animal revealed to them. But they live in one of the most inhospitable places on earth, the Kalahari Desert. Its name in Setswana means the thirsty land. In this dry wilderness, there are animals, but to hunt them requires extraordinary skill and understanding of nature. Isaac finds the tracks of their prey. Just from the footprints, he can tell its size, weight, and the direction it's heading. The Bushmen can interpret the smallest clues left by their quarry. Finally, after 6 hours of tracking, the prey is in sight. A young male springbok, enough to feed the family for a week. But Isaac doesn't fire an arrow. Although the government has given the Bushmen their land, the law doesn't yet allow them to hunt in the traditional way. But in the newly democratic South Africa, Isaac now has a voice, and he is fighting to have the hunting laws changed.
We want to be able to hunt, not just because it's a tradition, but because it's a source of food. So we want the government to change the law to let us hunt our animals.
For 20,000 years, the Komani San have walked this land, surviving in the most hostile of environments. Now they are determined to shape their own future, forging a place in their new nation. South Africa has a unique good fortune. The very rocks on which this nation is built hold riches without equal anywhere in the world. Over 3 billion years, extremes of pressure and heat have created huge deposits of gold, platinum, and diamonds, making South Africa the richest nation on the African continent. And the wealthiest city in South Africa is Johannesburg, a vast urban metropolis the size of Los Angeles. It has no river, no port, and has never been a seat of government. But it lies on the richest gold seam in the world. The gold from beneath the city has built South Africa, and today it is still transforming individual lives. Peter Mpudle is a gold miner, one of the most dangerous jobs on earth. But it is his path to the dream of owning his own home.
Since I've started working, I wanted to see myself marrying, having children, and then having my own house, owning my own things. If I can have my own house, then I'll be fine. I'll be very pleased in my life.
Peter's house is owned by the mine where he works. Now, after 25 years, he is almost able to buy it from them. Peter works the night shift. Every evening, his family take him to work to make the most of their brief time together. But for Peter, this is just the beginning of one of the world's most extraordinary commutes.
Good night, my baby.
He is about to descend 2.5 miles into the bowels of the earth.
See you then.
Bye.
See you then. Ta-ta.
Bye.
On the surface, it may not look like much. But this is TauTona, the deepest mine in the world, and Peter's shift is about to begin. Thousands of men cram themselves, 40 at a time, into cages to plunge into the earth at 16 yards a second. But even 2 miles underground, Peter's journey has only just begun. Before him is a labyrinth of over 500 miles of tunnel, an underground city. Peter's train takes him another 3 miles deep into the earth. At these depths, everything essential to human life must be pumped in and out 24 hours a day. This is a non-stop operation, and each man relies on the next to play his part. Peter is shift boss, the first rung on the management ladder. But like all miners, his salary depends on him hitting his targets, and no bonus means no house. After 2 hours, Peter's commute is finally over. Peter and his team have a crucial job. They have to shift hundreds of tons of gold-bearing rock to the surface in a matter of hours. But tonight, there's a problem. The day shift have blasted too much rock. But if Peter's team doesn't move all of it tonight, production in this area of the mine will grind to a halt. Peter has 7 hours to find a solution. Somewhere in this 500-mile maze of tunnels is the answer. Across the mine, thousands of other workers are battling the rock. In the deepest workings, the temperature reaches 130 degrees, the humidity 100%. The men drill thousands of holes ready for explosives, which will blast the rock apart. All to unlock the tiny seams of precious gold-bearing ore. It takes 2,500 tons of rock to produce just 1 gold bar. This mine will extract nearly 3 million tons of rock every year. But it comes at a huge cost. Poisonous gases can fill a tunnel. Rocks explode under extreme pressure, and there are daily earthquakes. 5 people die every year in this mine. Peter has been working these mine shafts for 25 years. This lifetime of experience enables him to find a bold solution to his problem. He needs a shorter route to remove the blasted rock more quickly. So he's going to dig an entirely new tunnel, creating a faster path to the rock face. While he keeps one of his teams working on moving what they can, more miners are brought in to dig the new tunnel. But it's still a race against time. The next round of drilling and blasting will start in just a few hours. By the end of the shift, Peter knows his solution will work. He will hit his target. His bonus is safe. The next day, Peter is called in to see the mine manager.
Just see if he's ready for you.
Okay.
All he has been told is that it's important, so he's put on his best suit.
Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm fine and you see. Thanks.
Are you well?
I'm well.
I ask a few of your colleagues to join us. Okay.
Yes,
I think
sir.
it's going to be a proud moment. I've got the deed to your house here, and I'd like to be the first one to actually hand it over to you and to congratulate you.
I will
Okay.
be very happy.
Very
Thanks
well
a
done.
lot.
Okay.
Thanks
Thanks
a lot.
very much.
Thanks a lot.
Let me formally hand this over to you.
Shit.
How do you feel about being a house owner?
I will be very happy when putting it on my wall at home. And my children will be so much happy.
Some of your colleagues would like to congratulate you as well.
Congratulations.
Thanks, thanks, sir.
Congratulations, Peter.
Thanks,
It's a
sir.
proud moment for
Thanks a lot, Nina.
Congratulations, Peter. You deserve it.
I deserve it. I will be so much happy. When I put it on my wall, they are all going to fall down because I was looking for this.
Peter's entire family have gathered to witness this moment. They say a prayer in thanks.
Father, we thank you. Father, we praise your name. You are worthy to be praised. Father, we thank this day for Peter's family who is receiving his title deed for his children. In the name of Jesus. Thank you. Amen.
Peter is the first member of his family to own his own home. Peter's is not an isolated success. He is part of a new phenomenon in South Africa, an emergent black middle class. And the South African government is determined to take black economic success to another level. Soon, even the mine Peter works in will have to be at least 25% black owned. The growing economic wealth of South Africa is matched by the richness and diversity of its land. In a country just under twice the size of Texas, it has more plant species than the entire United States, a result of the country's unique geographic position. South Africa lies at the meeting point of two great oceans. In the west, the cold Atlantic causes the dry desert conditions of the Kalahari, home to Isaac Kraper and the Komani San Bushmen. The east is where Tobile Sabisi lives. After her day at school, she is on her journey home through the neighboring hillside villages. Here, the warm Indian Ocean brings high rainfall and lush conditions. The interior has rich savanna, home to more animal species than Europe and Asia combined. This is big game country. South Africa is the world leader in wildlife conservation. 10% of the country is set aside for wildlife protection. One of the guardians of this legacy is wildlife veterinarian Jana Pretorius.
My dad used to take us every year, twice a year, to the Kruger National Park, and I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian from the age of 5.
Jana is now living that dream, protecting South Africa's wildlife. She relocates animals across the country, adding new stock to successful breeding programs and reintroducing wildlife to habitats from which they have been wiped out. Today, she must hunt down, capture, and relocate a giant 18-foot male giraffe.
You don't need to be a big, strong man, as people would think. It's not necessarily a macho business. You need to know what you're doing, and you need the right equipment.
Equipped with a search helicopter and a high-powered rifle, she needs to get close enough to dart the animal with a highly concentrated dose of sedative. A teaspoonful would kill 25 people. Yana has to search the vast savanna for the giraffe, skimming the treetops at 100 miles per hour. She has an experienced team following her on the ground, but it's a dangerous job. They will need to bring the animal under control once it has been sedated.
The animal's welfare is 100% my responsibility. But with that also comes the responsibility of making sure the people are not injured in any way during the process.
After an hour in the air, Yana finds the giraffe herd. But now she needs to isolate the biggest male. The tranquilizer is in, the clock is ticking. They need to get to the giraffe quickly to keep it in the open so that Yana can administer the antidote. Otherwise, the giraffe will die.
The aim for me when we capture animals is to immobilize them as quickly as possible and wake them up as quickly as possible as well. If you have the right drug dosage and the right equipment, it should be very quick.
Yana has her giraffe safely loaded, ready for its 500-mile journey to its new home. Yana's next target is a far more difficult challenge. One of South Africa's most dangerous animals, the white rhino. The male she is hunting weighs over 2 tons. Yana needs to get the sedative dosage just right. Too little could be fatal for her team.
We've had cases where people were standing over the rhinos thinking they're immobilized, they're fine, and the animal suddenly pulls up and hits back. I've seen people from the air go under a tree to get to the rhino that was standing there, and the next moment you just saw people flying out from under the tree.
And too much sedative could be fatal for the rhino. But Yana and her team are highly experienced. They move over 6,000 animals across the country each year. Yana has found her prey. The shot is good. But something is wrong with the rhino. As the team reaches the rhino, he goes down too quickly. Yana needs to bring him around fast, or he'll die. Even though Yana gives the antidote, the rhino's condition worsens. Another dose has little effect. Yana pumps in an even bigger dose. Finally, the rhino begins to respond. After 30 minutes, Yana and her team help him back onto his feet. He is unsteady, but unharmed, ready for his journey to a new home. Vets like Yana have had extraordinary successes in saving Africa's threatened wildlife. This is one of the most dangerous and one of the most endangered animals in the world, the black rhino. Once there were just 100 left in South Africa. Now, thanks to the conservation efforts of people like Yana, there are nearly 1,000. Today, she is releasing a black rhino bull onto land from which they were once eradicated. Another victory in the campaign to save one of South Africa's most precious assets.
Working in this industry with these animals for so long, you become addicted to this. It's this special thing about wildlife. Each animal is different, and when you see them and you work with them, there's nothing to compare it to.
South Africa is a land of ancient beliefs and rituals. The Sangoma, part counselor, herbalist, and traditional healer, is central to South Africa's traditional religious beliefs. At the heart of these beliefs is the power of the ancestors. These are deceased family members, the guardians of health, happiness, and wealth. The Sangoma can communicate with the ancestors by throwing the bones, a collection of everyday objects symbolizing all aspects of life. Over 80% of South Africans visit Sangomas, seeking ancient advice for living in the modern world. In KwaZulu-Natal, infernos are burning across the landscape. The hillsides are being set on fire in preparation for the annual sugarcane harvest. The fire strips away the dead outer leaves, leaving the sugar-rich stalk ready for a harvest that produces 2.5 million tons of sugar each season. Earning over $800 million. Just 13% of South Africa's land produces crops, yet the nation is one of the few in Africa that produces more than it consumes. The industry depends on the labor of these men and women. A skilled cutter can clear 1,000 pounds of cane an hour. 8 hours labor will earn them just $6. It's not much, but in an area with over 40% unemployment, at least it's a regular wage. And workers will travel far from home for a job. Tobile Sabisi's parents both live away from home in order to support the family. Tobile and her sister run the household, taking turns to cook the evening meal and to look after their younger brother and sister.
My mother works at Guy's farm. My father also lives and works at a farm. He works so that he can buy food for us, so that we don't go hungry. He comes to see us once a month. That's all.
It is August. Tobile has been practicing for the Zulu reed dance just a few weeks away, but so are her end-of-year exams. She is determined to get the best grade she can. She rushes to finish her homework before the sun sets.
I want to finish my education and find a good job so that I can make my parents happy, because they supported me from when I was little. It is important that I should make money to support them when they are retired and too old to work.
Once darkness has fallen, there is a treat. Tobile joins the other children to watch a neighbor's battery-operated television. She sees a world beyond her own village, a land of opportunity. South Africa is Africa's only superpower. Over half of the continent's electricity is generated by this one country. This network of pylons carries power to over 3 million homes, hospitals, schools, and factories throughout southern Africa. With countless lives depending on these cables, the power can never stop. Maintaining 16,000 miles of cable across some of the most inaccessible land is down to just a few men and women. In some places, the only way to make repairs is from the air. As 400,000 volts surge through the cables, the repair crew must be airlifted precisely onto the top of the pylons. In the last year, 2 men have died and 1 helicopter has crashed. But today, they are successful. They keep the electricity flowing, providing power and the opportunity of a better future to millions. On the open plains of the High Veld lies the home of South Africa's military. Here, the opportunities of the new nation are being firmly grasped by Monique Thorne. She is a 22-year-old lieutenant commanding 4 Roycat armored fighting vehicles. The Roycat is a 28-ton seek and destroy specialist that can reach speeds of over 75 miles per hour.
The first thing I saw was the Roycat, and I absolutely loved it. And I just thought driving the thing would be like a thrill. Being on top of it would be like so exciting. Now I'm doing it, and it's unbelievable. It's everything that I dreamed of.
The South African military is a potent, high-tech force. Their weaponry and armor are respected throughout the world. South Africa once even possessed a nuclear arsenal. Yet this is the only nation on Earth to have ever voluntarily given up such weapons. Today, the South African military works throughout Africa as a peacekeeping force.
Guru, Aichi, we are the aiming open. Fire!
Monique joined the South African Army just 2 years ago. She has risen rapidly up the ranks. But she now needs to prove she can lead her men into battle.
Fire!
In what will be South Africa's biggest military exercise. If she succeeds, she'll be just the second woman in the whole brigade to become troop commander. Before the revolution in South Africa, the military was a bastion of white domination. But it has been the scene of a remarkable transformation. Former enemies are now partners.
For me, growing up, I only was in the colored community. I wasn't familiarized with black people and white people that much. But the moment I joined the army, my best friend was a black South African girl. And we met, and then we became friends with the white girl. Now I can see I'm not intimidated anymore. I can talk to them like normal people, and this is like what the army taught me. People are the same, and we communicate, especially in the army, white, African, colored people. We communicate the same language, and we're just the same. And it's very good for me.
Before she takes her big test, Monique has a weekend of leave. She heads home to the Eastern Cape, one of the nation's poorest provinces. Monique is from the colored community, a uniquely South African people of diverse racial origin. Descended from black Africans, white Europeans, Khoi and San Bushmen, and slaves from Asia. Under apartheid, the colored community were also denied basic human rights. As a girl, Monique grew up in a land where she was a second-class citizen. Now, as a woman, she is defending the new democracy. It is a year since she last saw her family. In the army, Monique must speak English, but at home, her mother tongue is Afrikaans. It's a shock for her parents to find their daughter is in charge of so many men, of all ages and races.
Is nou jou wie die jy ding?
Dis my Sunday. Hy werk onder my.
Ja, ek weet hy's bo kan jou.
Wie is onder my?
Onder jou?
Ja, hy werk onder my. Ek is luitenant, dis my sergeant.
En hoe is hulle nou teenoor jou?
Nee, yes, hulle is fantasties. Hulle gee baie ondersteuning. As ek die luitenant en ek twee korporaal en sergeant, hulle al 3 mans. They do worry a lot, but I tell them not to worry. And they have accepted it because I'm not that I'm grown up. They will give me the year that not that I'm grown up. I will always be there because I'm the baby in the house. I'll always be the baby. But they need to accept that I'm getting older, and then I have to take responsibility for myself now.
Wat is nou die? Is die kat? Die rooi kat.
Die rooi kat.
En wanneer begin
jy skiet met die goed?
Ja, jy skiet met dit. Sy is my ander karre. Jy kan die karre sien. Die ander twee.
For Monique's father, the transformation of his country and his young daughter still seems unreal.
Ek het eers gedink aan dit my kinders eendag.
I never thought my children would one day work for the government. We always assumed they'd end up in the factories. But now they can make their own choices about their lives.
Monique has just 2 days at home before she returns to her unit. And the biggest challenge of her life. At South Africa's southern tip is the Cape Peninsula. The ocean here supports over 11,000 animal and plant species. Some of the most unusual residents, normally found in the snowy wastes of Antarctica more than 2,000 miles away, are penguins. Penguins have been coming to Boulders Beach outside Cape Town for the last few years. And like everyone else, liked it so much, they decided to stay. Since the first few arrived, the colony has grown to more than 4,000. And every day, a few make a break from the crowded beach in search of a new nesting site. Every day, the park wardens try to contain the invasion, rounding up the escapees and returning them to the safety of the beach. The weather around the Cape Peninsula is notoriously unpredictable. Known as the Cape of Storms, the coastline is littered with the carcasses of ships destroyed by the power of the ocean. Dave Fallman is a fisherman who knows these dangers well. He lost his father to the ice-cold water.
We decided that day that we're going to go out catching crayfish. And he put my boat firstly in the water, and I went out, and he came afterwards. And then within that couple of moments, we lost each other. And that's the last that I ever saw my father. The boat capsized, and they grabbed hold on the keel side of the boat. And half of their bodies was in the water. And he said to the one crewman, "You must sit there, because your children are still small, mine is all grown up." As he was hanging there, he opened his hands and he went down. And he was a good swimmer. But the water here, coldness of this water, takes you down.
But these ice-cold waters provide David with his livelihood. Over 2,000 species of fish thrive in these plankton-laden currents. But there is one fish that men like David specialize in catching: the snook. A relative of the barracuda, it is a sought-after local delicacy, but it is notoriously difficult to find.
Snook is a thing that you find him today here, tomorrow there. He's a running fish. He's not every day on the same spot.
Today, David may have a powerful outboard motor, but he catches snook in the same way his ancestors did, on hand lines. They can wait months for a good catch. And then they can hit the jackpot. The snook are vicious predators. Their teeth are covered in an anticoagulant, causing a bite that bleeds for hours. David's father passed these skills to him, and now he is passing these skills to his sons.
They want to do what I'm doing. That's how we build into a family, because I can depend on them. Whatever I need, I can ask from them.
Today, they have caught 300 fish, over 50 a man. Despite the dangers, for David, there is no other life.
Well, that's my work. That's my everything into it. That's my life. That's my life.
Back in the urban heart of Johannesburg, preparation is underway for one of the country's biggest events. Music has always been important to South Africa. It was through song that South Africans, who had no political voice, found freedom of expression.
During the struggle period, when people demonstrated, we would actually chant for protest songs. So, choirs are a potent force in bringing communities together, transmitting positive messages.
And now the National Massed Choir Festival is using that power to try and unite South Africa. Macaulay Koping is the festival's music director. Today, he gets his first look at the arena where the festival will be held. Macaulay's festival gathers musicians from all over the country, selected to perform as a single, massive 1,000-voice choir. But competition to take part is fierce. He has 980 voices selected. He has space for just one more choir. Macaulay sets off for nearby Soweto, an impoverished township that was a battleground during the fight against apartheid. He is auditioning a young choir for the first time.
I mean, for quite some time, they wanted to be part of this project, which is an important and quite prestigious. I just hope that they will be able to crack the music. Yeah.
Macaulay has given them a challenging song to learn. Specially commissioned for the festival, it celebrates a turning point in the struggle against the racist laws of apartheid. Despite their efforts, Macaulay is not very impressed.
Okay, you have cracked the backbone of the song, which is good, but I think there are quite a number of basic things that we need to take care of. I think you'll agree this would definitely not be a winning performance, ne? Your participation is not guaranteed in the sense that you do not know your music. We will kindly ask you not to be part of the festival. And I think that's fair, ne? Okay, at least we agree.
Macaulay believes the choir has the ability, but they need a guiding hand to succeed.
Affects balance. Now let's try the opening and see if we can improve in terms of sound.
In 2 weeks, he'll be back to audition them again.
Okay, let's go.
It will be their last chance. Obaking Mobise is the 24-year-old choir leader. He knows his choir needs to improve, or they will miss their opportunity.
It did put me under pressure. After that, we met as a choir and then we sat down and we started to refocus about this whole thing and we put more emphasis on the work. We meet something like 7 days a week. From Monday to Saturday, we practice.
2 weeks later, and Macaulay has come back. This is the choir's last chance to impress him.
There is marked improvement. There's a marked improvement in terms of your presentation. Not yet clean, but you have worked a lot on the music. Now, hey, yeah, ne? So you want to get the verdict, whether you're in or out. Look at Dave. We will be part of the performance on the 24th. That's right.
The festival is now just weeks away. The streets of Soweto, once the scene of struggle and poverty, are undergoing a remarkable transformation. When apartheid ended, decades of cultural and economic isolation ended with it. New homes and self-made millionaires are rising from these Soweto streets. South Africa is booming. In the nearby financial center of Johannesburg, the economic transformation has been extraordinary. In 10 years, the value of real estate has risen 3,000%. And here, more than anywhere, the new prosperity is increasingly colorblind.
There's a lot of money here. I mean, they call this place the Golden City, and the expansion and money worth here is incredible.
However, for many of South Africa's people, a decade of political freedom has yet to bring the greater prosperity they had hoped for. Across the country, in shantytowns like this one outside Johannesburg, 5 million people survive on less than $1 a day. Unemployment in the poorest areas is over 70%. Half of all South Africans live below the poverty line. As the gap between rich and poor widens, the new South African nation is being threatened by crime. Tony Wolf is a paramedic in Johannesburg, one of the wealthiest, most dynamic, and most dangerous cities on earth.
Your theft rate is based on weapons and people killing each other. Robbers shoot, property owners will shoot, and unfortunately it's almost like the Wild Wild West, but this is what it is. Everyone carries a gun here. And the only thing that can result from that is a bit of nastiness.
There are more than 300 murders and violent attacks in South Africa every day. Johannesburg is at the epicenter of this crime wave. It has a third of the population of New York, yet has 10 times more murders. Despite the dangers, there are people out there who are fighting back. Tony has worked on these streets for 4 years, trying to make a difference.
I've seen too much pain and suffering in the world. You know, if you can make some small little help, if you can do it, it's marvelous. It's just going to be a hectic time. This is a long weekend. There's a lot of people who are going to be driving around. They're going to be using a lot of alcohol, I'm afraid. Okay. Waiting, checking, clear, go. Come on, rock and roll, boy. Just get out of the way. Thank you. Think about it, please. Thank you. Choose a lane, any lane, not the one we're in. Get out of it.
I have to slow down here.
Yeah.
Dispatch medic 123 in attendance.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Tony's shift has just begun. His first call is a car wreck. The fire brigade and police are on the scene.
1, 2, 3. Okay, up. Can you get further up? Taxi's fine. 1, 2, 3.
This is Johannesburg General Hospital, where Tony takes his patients. They already have their first bullet wounds of the night. A storekeeper shot in the leg during an armed robbery. Johannesburg General is staffed by doctors from all over the world. They come here to learn in the world's most extreme ER. South Africa has been a world leader in medical technology. The first ever heart transplant was performed here. But for these doctors, treating so much trauma is a big enough challenge. Out on the streets, violence is a constant threat, not just for the citizens, but their rescuers too.
We've had vehicles stolen with the patient in the back. This is what you face. And you've got a person in the back of the ambulance who's ill. So the next thing you know, you being held up at gunpoint.
The one who helped me to put off the safety belt.
It's going to be very, very sore. It's going to not be very pleasant. Who's here to take you anyway?
Where's this one from?
At the hospital, the casualty rate mounts.
What?
Gunshot.
Neck.
I don't know if it's said neck or chest. Just with them.
By midnight, they have 6 shootings and as many stabbings. And the casualties keep on coming.
Did they stab you? Yes. Where?
Drugs.
By the early hours of the morning, the hospital is already full. They need to shut their doors. Just as Tony heads back with his most critical casualty of the night, a small child with a serious head wound.
Okay, you with me? One. Okay, hold it there. Stay with me. Don't you go to sleep on me, sweetheart. Don't do that. Stay
Tony
with me.
is 5 miles from the hospital. He needs to keep her conscious as they race across town.
Rock and roll, buddy, please. Let's go. How are we doing, sweetie? Hey? All right. All right, huh? Stay. Yes. Stay with me. Stay.
He doesn't know if the hospital will take her.
We've got a completely...
But despite the overcrowding, Tony gets her in to be treated.
Let's go. She's losing consciousness on me. I've kept her going up until now. Still alive, still awake.
For Tony, this is another night of hard-won small victories. His night shift is finally over.
Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes too many things are happening, you know? So you're looking at a situation in which can a small amount of people cover the millions of people who are involved in their daily lives here? And it comes down to a point of, yes, we can. We do the best we can. We all want to be part of the new South Africa. We all want to help. And we want to be here. We want to do it. This is what we are. This is who we are.
In KwaZulu-Natal, Tobile Sabisi and her classmates are playing netball. The whole school has turned out to enjoy the game. Yet these children face an unseen enemy, an even greater threat than crime: AIDS. South Africa has more people living with HIV/AIDS than anywhere else in the world. And KwaZulu-Natal, where Tobile lives, has the highest rate in South Africa. 40% of the population are believed to be infected. 85% of these children have been orphaned by AIDS. Tobile is lucky. Her parents are alive. And she has a teacher determined to save the lives of the children in his care. For Nzuzo Gumede, Teaching these children about AIDS is the most important lesson he can ever give.
I want them to be safe from what is happening. No matter how difficult it is, I will try my best so long as I live. I believe that we can change, me and you can make a difference. No matter how long or how hard.
His big problem is that in rural South Africa, AIDS is a taboo subject, which no one is prepared to talk about. But Nzuzo doesn't give up easily. He's raised money for a school trip. He's taking Tobile and her class on a journey that he hopes will change their young lives. The bus ride is just 2 hours long, but for most of them, this is the furthest they have ever been from home. Nzuzo wants to get them talking about AIDS. At Ingwelzani Hospital, they are met by Nzuzo's sister-in-law, Dr. Sena Hashwayo. She takes them on a tour of the hospital. Almost 1,000 South Africans die every day from AIDS-related illnesses. Yet few will talk about it. Something Nzuzo and Sena are desperate to change.
Who are infected? Is anybody here? No man can ever born.
Dr. Sena knows it's impossible that they don't know someone with AIDS.
You've never seen someone with HIV or AIDS. You've never. Our wards are full because of the HIV. Not that everybody say what it is real, and ikona like South Africa is all around you. And in Yabaze, abantu just vele amantu ngebanitshela ukuthi nginayo njengamanje. Sisana leyo nkinga ke nasemawodini. Mayini enithanda ukuyibuza nje ngiyazi nimibuzo eminingi nisebancane kabi angifuni ukuthi nina nilokhunge.
She is determined to break through the wall of silence these children have grown up with. And all it takes is for one child brave enough to speak up.
Khona omunye nombuzo aduphamisile.
Libuza ukuthi isikhathi sekhula kakhulu umuntu ophethe HIV uyakwazi ukudla ukufana nabantu bonke.
Uyakwazi mesakwazi nje ukudla kahle uzosiyazama ukuthi anike ukudla bayadla nje baze bafike estage sokugcina.
As their courage grows, a torrent of questions begins to flow.
Okay. Into yomuntu njenganje. Ya ungayisebenzisa ikinkinga ayithelelani ngalokho ungamthinta umuntu siyabathinta angigqoka ama gloves mangisewodini ngibathinta every day I touch them with my bare hands every day.
Libuza ukuthi ithathe iminyaka emingaki
ukuthi yenze njani
ukuthi before
kuyadependa akekho wazi ukuthi ke manje ke kuzoba isikhathi esingaka yabo.
Nzuzo wants to be sure that they will never forget this day and that they will keep talking about AIDS.
1, 2, 3.
We will spread words,
not AIDS. We will spread words, not AIDS. We will spread words, not AIDS.
We will spread words, not AIDS.
The hospital was really shocking. We had no idea so many people were dying from HIV/AIDS.
After the tough lessons at the hospital, Tobile has something happier to look forward to. It is just days before the Zulu reed dance.
What makes me really happy is that soon I will be going to the reed dance. It's something I've been dreaming about, and now I have the chance to go.
This is her chance to join 15,000 young girls like herself and the wider Zulu community. At the opposite end of the country, another gathering is taking place. 5,000 elite soldiers are gathered for South Africa's biggest military exercise. Leading her troop of 15 men is 22-year-old Lieutenant Monique Thorne. This is Monique's opportunity to prove herself. As day breaks, she will lead a strike force in an attack on enemy positions. Success will bring qualification as a troop commander.
I am nervous, but I can't be nervous. I must just be firm. I must keep my commands, and I must control my people underneath me. Then everything will be fine.
It may be an exercise, but the ammunition is live and the dangers are real. A rocket salvo starts the attack. Monique has just 5 minutes to destroy the frontline targets. Then, get her troops out before the next phase of the assault begins. Overseeing the battle is Monique's commanding officer. It's up to him whether she will get her promotion. Monique's targets are destroyed. Now she must get her troop out safely before the main bombardment begins. It's a high-speed retreat, but she must keep her team together. Monique checks all her troops are out of danger. The withdrawal is completed just in time. The final assault begins. Monique and her troops have successfully completed their part of the battle plan. But has she impressed her commanding officer?
Zero Bravo, did you copy that?
She has. Lieutenant Monique Thorne is now qualified as troop commander. Another step in the remarkable transformation of a young woman and a new country.
When I joined the army, the first day I didn't want to be here. I cried a lot, and I wanted to go home. And I think that was the best thing ever, was listening to my parents as well. Just to hang on, and just to go further. And I did it. I can't believe what I'm seeing in myself now. It joining the army made me a better person.
In KwaZulu-Natal, Tobile Sabisi sets off for the biggest day of her life. Tonight, she and 20 classmates will travel across the country to the heart of the Zulu kingdom to take part in the reed dance.
I am really happy that I have the chance to go. I can't wait to get there and see what it is like. Maybe I'll get to see the king.
King Goodwill Zwelithini is the leader of the Zulu people, descended from the ancient warrior kings who united the Zulu kingdom. Although steeped in the traditions and history of the Zulu culture, he is a 21st century leader. The reed dance is a traditional celebration by Zulu girls, but today, its message of the importance of virginity has an added resonance. In the battle against AIDS, it is one of King Goodwill Zwelithini's best weapons. Gathered from across the nation are 15,000 girls, here to take part in a ceremony celebrating their Zulu identity. For Tobile, this is what all her practice has been for. The climax of the ceremony begins as each of the girls must find an unbroken reed, a symbol of their virginity. With so many young girls, all trying to find a reed, Tobile suddenly finds herself in a desperate struggle not to be left out.
Before I got the reed, I was very sad. I felt like crying. Then, I felt myself becoming very happy. My joy made me feel like leaping.
Now she must carry her reed the mile to the royal enclosure and present it to the king. Just one girl in 15,000.
I had no idea that here in South Africa, there were still so many young people who respect our culture. I'm so proud of my Zulu customs. I feel very happy that my parents know that I took part in the reed dance and carried my reed to the king.
For Tobile, this ceremony is about her connection to the Zulu community and finding her place in the modern South Africa.
My life has changed very much. It feels renewed, as if I started from scratch, as if I have been reborn. This is how happy the reed ceremony made me feel.
She has one more challenge to face, her end-of-year exams. Tobile's dreams of becoming a teacher will depend on her performance.
Underline your answers.
Back in the center of Johannesburg, Obaking and his choir arrive for the National Massed Choir Festival. For Obaking, his big moment has arrived. And for his young choir from the dusty streets of Soweto, this is their chance to shine. Before an audience of 5,000 and millions watching on TV. For Macaulay Koping, the man who gave them this opportunity, it is the culmination of months of hard work. Obaking and his choir are in position. They open the festival with a song celebrating the victorious struggle against apartheid and the nation's joy at its newfound freedom. For hundreds of years, South Africa was a nation bitterly divided. Now, all its citizens are united by opportunity. And for the first time, they all have the right to determine their own destiny. For some, this means fighting for a traditional way of life, while others begin to reap the just rewards for their labor. Some are saving the nation from new dangers, as others power the dreams of a continent. Some are protecting the future of the most ancient residents, while others drive the nation into the 21st century. Back in the concert hall, the audience and the choir are singing with one voice, like the nation itself. South Africa, once a nation defined by division, is now a land united. Tobile Sibisi gets the results of her exams, the key to her future. She has passed.